Well, hello my friends, we meet again. It's been a while, where should we begin? This past weekend, I went to the Death to All show in Vancouver, and before I tell you guys about it, I just want to confess something. I may have clickbaited you all. It is only 821 kilometers as the crow flies between Edmonton, which is where I live, and Vancouver. Not 1,000. But, I flew 821 kilometers to see a tribute band is a much worse title. Besides, when you drive, it is actually over 1,000 kilometers, so I think it still counts. Anyways, myself and my friend Joel, who also plays guitar in our band Soul Runner, which you should check out by the way, decided that when this show was announced that we could absolutely not miss this opportunity to see Death to All play together. To get to see Bobby, Steve, and Gene Hoglan play death tracks was almost irresistible, but it was made all the more enticing when they announced that they'd be playing 2 shows in Vancouver. The first night they would play all of Scream Bloody Gore and be more of like an 80s death night, and the second night they would play all of The Sound of Perseverance and it would be more focused on the 90s death. And to add to the appeal of it all, Cryptopsy would also be performing. We legitimately could not miss this show. So we only went to the Friday show as Joel had to work Thursday. So on Friday morning, him and I hit the road.
Yeah, you gotta get that.
Off to the airport with the boy.
Woo-woo.
Driving to the airport early on Friday morning and leaving beautiful Edmonton, Alberta for beautiful Vancouver, BC. You know, it is always a treat going to Vancouver as it is easily one of the world's most beautiful locations for a city in the world, in my opinion. You know, the Fraser River Valley and the peninsula in which the city proper is on is always stunning, you know, with the North Shore Mountains in the background, the ocean and everything like that. Yeah, it's just fantastic. I love Vancouver. So after landing and being picked up, we checked into our lovely and lavish and luxurious accommodations before getting some food and then waiting around for the show to begin. It was an absolutely stunning day in Vancouver. Sunshine and all the wondrous fragrance of all the blooming flowers. It really all just set the stage for a fantastic night of death metal. And right away as we entered the venue, you could tell that the crowd was just buzzing. You know, it's a Friday night, sold out show, beautiful weather. You really got a great sense of energy from the people around you. Everyone was absolutely stoked to be lucky enough to see this show, and on that Friday I saw a ton of Death to All shirts, meaning that there was a lot of people who went to both nights, something which I am very jealous of, but you know, what can you do? You know, sometimes you can just tell that a show is going to be amazing before it begins. There's just like a certain electricity in the air, the crowd's so hyped. You can just tell that it's going to be excellent. And to add to all the hype, the first band, Aggression, came on stage, and when you see the bassist rocking that Chad and Brace haircut, you know you're in for a great night of metal. You know, sometimes the Norwood Reaper comes knocking, but the strongest among us tell the Norwood Reaper to pound sand and grow it out anyways. Much respect. Quick hairline check. How we doing, guys? How we doing? I think we're doing all right. Aggression set was pretty good. They're a throwback thrash band, which reminded me a lot of Sodom's early stuff and even some early Venom, but maybe that was just the haircut of the bassist. You know, they played a short but intense set, probably a much better set for the Thursday night Scream Bloody Gore crowd, but yeah, it was still very good. I thought it was pretty funny though how, because Gene Hoglan and Flo Monier's kits are so big, the drummer for Aggression had to set up his stuff stage left, but it's a death metal show. What else can you expect? And, let me just take a second to say how much I enjoy the Rickshaw Theater in Vancouver. Not only was the stage nice and high, which always makes for a much better viewing experience, but they also had seats in the back. What a luxury, truly. We don't have anything like this in Edmonton. And after a long day of traveling and aimless wandering, it was really nice to be able to sit down in between bands. Sit down, have a drink, whatever. The sound was great, and the merch tables being right to the side of the stage was also very cool. It makes sense from a band's business perspective, as the whole night you just look over and you can see all their sick t-shirts for sale. I didn't have any beer that night, but Joel had some. Prices are pretty reasonable, honestly. And they had some house Red Bull thing coming out of their fountain gun that was extremely sweet, but it got the job done. Cryptopsy was next, and man, where do you even start with that? first of all, let me just say Flo Monnier is 49 years old and is turning 50 at the end of this month. So I saw him briefly outside the venue after Aggression's set, and honestly, the guy looks like 25. Like, he looks younger than me. That's just supremely impressive and just goes to show how if you take care of yourself, you can really age gracefully. But, you know, maybe it was just that superior French-Canadian genetics. Who knows? But I mean, like, Buddy absolutely destroyed the drums too. The band played a ton of tracks on their absolutely classic release, None So Vile, starting off with the monstrous Phobophile. Yeah, I was just absolutely mesmerized by their whole performance. I've listened to that album tons, but, you know, seeing it live is just crazy. Seeing how the fingers of the bassist and guitarists were just moving at light speed, all those power chords. The speed of the blasts, and man, it was just crazy. And let me know if this ever happens to you guys, but when I'm seeing tech death or even like brutal death metal bands, I become entranced by the absolute intensity of the wall of sound before me. I end up thinking almost the entire song about entirely unrelated things and deep conversations with myself. And honestly, I've had some rather important epiphanies about myself and my life during these tech death sets. You know, does this happen to anyone else? Is anyone just simply entranced and mesmerized by this stuff? I don't know, it's great anyways. The vocalist of Cryptopsy, Matt, was also an absolute animal. The power and intensity behind his screams is very, very impressive. This is not easy music to perform whatsoever, and doing justice to Lord Worm's vocals is no small feat, but the man absolutely killed it. Between his titanic lows and his maniacal highs, his stage presence and charisma was also top-notch. He was either casting spells at us or performing his windmill with absolutely impeccable technique. The crowd was absolutely hot for Cryptopsy, and they certainly did not disappoint. Great stuff. After Cryptopsy's hypnotizing set, you could tell that just the emotions and the anticipation for Death to All was nearing a fever pitch. You know, sometimes the conditions are just right, and as I mentioned earlier, the fact that it was a Friday with absolutely outstanding weather, you know, the crowd was just absolutely buzzing with excitement. You could just really, really feel the anticipation. But I do have one small nitpick with the show, and I may make a full video on this, but between sets, the sound guy should never, and I repeat, never play music which is heavier than the upcoming band. I mean, this is just simple logic, right? If you play lighter stuff, then by comparison, the next band will sound even heavier, thus better. Heavier is always better, right? You know, some bands really do get this right. The last time I saw Protest the Hero, they were just playing like pop music before their set, and it really adds a good juxtaposition, especially if you get some songs that the crowd can all sing along to. You know, sometimes the venue drops Chop Suey or like Aces High or something, and the whole crowd starts singing along. Like, it really just gets the crowd amped up. But if you're just hearing like extra blast beats and before the show starts, it's just kind of, it just doesn't work as well. But I'll make a video on this later, actually. So stay tuned for that. And, you know, this is just like one of my biggest pet peeves in the world, but maybe that's just me. Another thing I want to mention here is that the extremely varied and diverse crowd that was here. From young prog guys like me to even like younger, you know, Zoomers, to even like old death metalers with like dreadlocks and camo pants, and just seeming like everyone in between. It really just shows the wide appeal that late 90s death had and still has today, even 25 to 30 years later. Alright, so just a warning for those who want to see Death to All: if you do not want concert spoilers and want to come into it blind, then skip to this time here. As you know, before the show, I didn't read anything about their sets. I wanted to come in completely fresh and unbiased, so yeah. To my earlier point though, before the band came on stage, they played Voice of the Soul in its entirety over the PA. This not only announced that the show and Death to All was coming on stage, but it also had the same effect as playing lighter music before the band. Good stuff. You know, Voice of a Soul, what else can you really say about it? Just a great song. And as the band members were walking on stage during the song, man, I was just hyped. Oh, I loved it. You know, by this point, the crowd, including myself, was reaching levels of excitement and anticipation I don't think I've seen from a crowd in a very, very long time. And as the various members of the band came on stage, the crowd got even more enthusiastic and hot, like near hysteria levels. It was crazy. You know, Steve DiGiorgio, Gene Hoglan, Bobby Kobla, and the man who has the impossible job of filling Chuck's shoes, Max Phelps, and I'll talk a little bit more about him later, all began the show with an almighty death classic, The Philosopher. And man, like, what an excellent track to start out with. The crowd went wild singing along to the lyrics. The vocals of Max Phelps were incredible. Not only does he kind of look like Chuck, but if you close your eyes, it easily could have been Chuck singing these words. Like, he is that good. But again, more on him later, because I have a lot to say. But, you know, adding to the mystique of the whole performance of him was the fact that he did not say a single word to the crowd until the very end. You know, leaving that job of talking in between songs to the very charismatic and enthusiastic Steve DiGiorgio, which I think was a really, really smart choice. It just added to the whole performance of the thing. Yeah, it was just great. Speaking of him, though, one of the first things I noticed is Steve DiGiorgio's bass. He's playing a 3-string fretless, and not only is it just 3 strings, but it looks like he took the 2 middle strings off his signature Ibanez 5-string. So he's playing a 5-string fretless with 3 strings, the top one, the middle one, and the bottom one, but I assume they're just tuned to D standard, but the top 3, you know, just like, what an absolute madman. I had to do like a triple take to make sure that my eyes weren't playing tricks on me when seeing him. But despite that, he absolutely just killed it the whole time. Of course, it's Steve DiGiorgio. Bobby Kobla was on the opposite side of the stage from me, but he looked great for his age as well. And I couldn't quite tell what guitar he was playing, but it looked like a Music Man of some sorts. He absolutely shredded all night. Just great stuff. Really underrated guitarist for sure. The band then played some other Death classics, all from the later albums. Suicide Machine sounded absolutely amazing live. Max Phelps even changed his vocal style to match that era of Chuck's more lower-pitched vocals. And I swear this song live sounded like better than the record. It was crazy. I was just blown away the whole time. Everyone beside me was just losing their minds. Following that, we then got Overactive Imagination, which is a song I certainly did not expect to hear, but was a pleasant surprise. Although, if I were to say, maybe they should have played Trapped in a Corner instead of Overactive Imagination, but that's just me. After that, they then played Symbolic, which I have a deep dive on. If you've never seen that, please go check that out. But man, Symbolic live was just crazy, and that evil menacing riff during the chorus just sounds even heavier. Just great track there. What a great choice. After Symbolic, the band then went into the sound of Perseverance, starting off with the almighty Scavenger of Human Sorrow, which I also have a deep dive on. It was there I began to realize that I don't think the band is playing to a click track at all, which makes it even more impressive considering how many tempo changes the songs on the Sound of Perseverance has. But I mean, Gene Hoglan is the atomic clock, so he is the click track. And man, like, Gene Hoglan, just what an absolute beast all night. Several times during the night, the entire crowd erupted in chants of Gene, 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 and rightfully so. The man absolutely destroyed it. He played Richard Christie's parts extremely well, and his kit sounded absolutely thunderous. They made some sort of speech of how he's like a hometown boy, but I don't think he was born in Vancouver. So if there's any Vancouverites who can inform me as to what that's about, I would appreciate that. Just leave that down in the comments. And as Scavenger played out, I really began to notice just how clean and precise this band is, especially during the extremely fast picking parts during the chorus of that song. You could legitimately hear every single pick stroke. Never before live have I heard such clarity in the picking that I can pick out the individual like 16th notes being played. Just absolutely amazing stuff. And, you know, I won't go through every song they did here, as I don't want this video to be like an hour long, but Bite the Pain might have been my favorite song of the entire night. That intro is just so majestic and beautiful, and then the riff which follows it is just so brutal and fast with that little stutter in it, you know, the dun 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 dun. It was just amazing, wow, and like I said, the clarity of their picking is just crazy. That song was just absolutely beautiful live, you know, and I don't even really need to say this, but every song was absolutely spot on, from the solos to the leads, you know, all the parts they just played impeccably, and even Steve DiGiorgio gave us some little extra fretless spice during some parts, and I think there's even some demos which he was playing bass on, that he played those parts that he played on the demos, which are on Spotify. Just a very cool touch by him there. Like, truly amazing. I was just standing there absolutely blown away. My eyes welling up from tears from the absolute power and royalty of the performance. You know, after every single song, everyone would just turn to each other and be like, "Holy shit, man! Oh my god, this is amazing!" Crazy. I'd never experienced that at a show. Another highlight was Flesh and the Power It Holds. That song is just an epic journey through the highs and lows of the power that bodily pleasures can hold over someone. I also have a video on that song, but seeing it live, it really made me rethink some of my ideas on it, and new storylines and elements and emotions emerged from the music. Absolutely awe-inspiring. Max Phelps was especially great here. You know, the intro was just so grand and divine before it devolves into the aggression of the verses and then the depravity of the bridge. And Max Phelps really legit nailed Chuck's solo during the bridge. Man, just fantastic. Not a single error on his part at all. The band continued on moving through the album, moving Spirit Crusher from the middle of the album to the end of the set. A good choice as is an absolute crowd favorite, but both Forgive to Suffer and A Moment of Clarity were absolutely outstanding. Seeing A Moment of Clarity live really began to show and reveal to me just how influential the tech death this album was. Like, that song has a lot of really techy parts to it, but I don't know why I never really realized it until now. And then we got to Painkiller, and now is the time to talk about the man himself, Max Phelps. First of all, I will just say that, of course, no one can ever replace Chuck Schuldiner, but this band right here is about as close as a mortal human can get. Although he was playing an Ormsby instead of that classic Chuck BC Rich Stealth, although I think I saw the same DiMarzio X2N bridge pickup in it, but I couldn't really tell. This man, who also plays the amazing band Exist, which you should check out as well, not only did justice to Chuck, but he absolutely honored his legacy. What an absolutely amazing performance by this guy here. And I mentioned earlier that until the very end, he did not say a single word to the crowd in between songs. And honestly, this elevated the mystique and just majesty of the performance immensely. He would simply casually saunter up to the mic, give the most spot on and absolutely vicious Sound of Perseverance vocals, all the while absolutely killing and nailing all the Chuck guitar parts as well. You could tell that everyone was just as godsmacked as I was about it. He would then finish the song, take a few steps back and tune his guitar, all seemingly without breaking a sweat. Like, they played almost 2 hours and I don't think I saw a drop of sweat on his face. But what really floored me was when they got to Painkiller. I thought to myself, oh, he'll probably just scream the whole song. But no, this amazing man did the Chuck vocals on their cover of Painkiller. You could almost feel everyone's jaw drop as he hit that first high note. I mean, not only is this impressive to do in studio, but doing it live after playing for over an hour? Absolutely ridiculous. I mean, this is just legendary stuff. He also made the entire thing look effortless. So not only were we watching a cover of a song, we were watching a tribute band perform a cover of the song in the spirit of the band that covered the song. Someone parse that out for me. Like, what is that called here? Regardless, Max's performance on Painkiller was just absolutely incredible, and that really just cemented me. I'm like, okay, this guy is... This guy is an absolute beast. Holy shit. You know, it was just absolutely incredible, and I cannot praise this man enough. Bravo. Bravo, bravo, bravo. And at the end, before the encore, when Steve DiGiorgio finally introduced him, the crowd absolutely erupted in chants of Max, 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 and truly rightfully so. I don't think I've heard someone deserve a chant as much as he did, ever. The band finished the album with Spirit Crusher, and then proceeded to bless us with 2 more classic Death tracks before finally leaving: Lack of Comprehension and Crystal Mountain. These 3 songs, the absolute perfect way to end the show with the encore, and the Crystal Mountain ending was just excellent. And they even threw us a little bit of Canadian tidbit by ending Crystal Mountain with that little bit of the intro to YYZ. Just a classic little touch, just great. And I mean, like, that was easily one of the best shows I've ever seen in my entire life. Perhaps even the best, honestly. Hearing the later Death tracks played live, you really get to experience just why they are so special. While most death metal, even melodic death metal, is very dense and heavy, but in comparison, the Death tracks seem spacious and clear. The songs make great use of silence and space within the songs. Every line is clear and nothing ever sounds muddy or overdone. Everything is just so tasteful. The melodies are effervescent and their heavier thrashing parts seem even heavier because of all this. And perhaps most of all, it just highlights just how amazing every single riff on these songs is. And as we all know, riffs are the most important part of metal. All hail Chuck, the riff lord. The songs from Human and Individual Thought Patterns also really benefited from the clean and clear live sound they had going on. The songs from The Sound of Perseverance are all powerhouse tracks, which transfer to live versions amazingly. I know that if Chuck was looking down on the Rickshaw Theater that night, he would be absolutely honored to see a crowd enjoying the amazing music he created. It not only was a tribute concert, a celebration of all the amazing, inspirational, organic, uplifting, heart-rending, and powerful music that he left us with. Seeing Death to All simply just reinforced my love of Death even further. Really cementing The Sound of Perseverance as one of my top 5 albums of all time, which if you want to see a video about that, leave that down in the comments. And if you ever have the chance to go see this band, specifically the Sound of Perseverance night, I highly, 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 highly recommend you go. I cannot recommend that enough. Like, even bring some of your friends who aren't Death fans, like, they'll be converted for sure. But yeah, the rest of our trip was excellent as well. The following morning, we went on a nice 20-kilometer bike ride around the beautiful Stanley Park, and then we even saw 50 Cent perform live at a BC Lions game. I like 50 Cent's music, but stadiums are such a poor performance for rap music, where the crisp instrumentation and rap verses sort of just get lost in the reverberations of the stadium, especially 50 Cent, as he has a much deeper voice. It was still a good concert though, and I enjoyed it, but it was a very, very interesting juxtaposition between the clear and tight Death to All the night before, and then the booming 50 Cent concert. Anyways, amazing show, and I really, really hope they decide to do this again. Maybe they could play Symbolic in its entirety the next time. Maybe Leprosy. I would legitimately fly out to Vancouver again to go see it. But yeah, let me know what you guys think in the comments below. I never really intended to do a travel vlog ever, but I thought my audience would appreciate this. So let me know what you think of the video. If you want to see some more of this, maybe we'll do some more. And yeah, have you seen Death to All? Are you going to go see them? Leave that down in the comments. If you're about to see them soon, did I spoil the video for you? I don't think so. It's going to be amazing, man. You're going to love it. But yeah, thanks for watching, guys. Remember to like, comment, subscribe, check out my merch, check out my Patreon. I really appreciate you all. So long and good night.